Check it out. It's the Laugh to Learn podcast. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Laugh to Learn podcast. My name is Jacob Paveo, and of course, I come to you from the Great White North each and every Wednesday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, except last week I was not here for you. We're going to get to that in just a minute. If it's your first time here, thank you for checking out the show. If you're coming back to the show, welcome back to the show. If you've yet to do so, you can hit the subscribe button. You can tell all your friends and family. Give us a share on social media. Give us a rating on whatever platform you happen to be listening to. That's actually the best way to have a podcast sort of shared. It makes us show up higher in search engine fields and all that fun stuff when you leave a nice 5-star rating and write something nice about me. And there is a website that I use that it doesn't matter where you leave a rating, on what service it is. I get them all put in a list together, so I get to read the nice things that people write about me. So thank you for everyone and everything. And thank you for those of you who reached out the last week and to see how I was doing. So let's just get right to why I was not here last week. I had COVID, finally. And I say finally because for a long time now, everyone I know who hadn't yet had COVID was getting it. And I was like, okay, I feel like this is the time. Okay, like I want to start living my life. And the only way really that you can like live your life and not be worried about COVID is to have already had COVID. Because like my friends who already had it were like, I can do whatever I want. Like, I'm not going to wear a mask when I go to the store. I can't get COVID. And I'm like, man, I wish I was like you. But yeah, I basically what went down, I posted my last episode on 2 weeks ago now. Posted it on Wednesday. And I was at a concert Wednesday night, and I was genuinely, in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm going to get COVID at this concert, like almost for sure. Because the numbers in Ontario were like 15 or 20,000 people estimated each day in Ontario are getting this. Almost all of them are in the Toronto area, so I'm going to a show in Toronto, Billy Talent and Rise Against, which was lit. It was a good time. Basically, like, I'm going to go to this concert and I'm going to get COVID. Whatever it is, what it is. And the next day, I woke up and I was like, oh no, I'm sick. So I thought, it's obvious that I already had COVID before going to the show. Because it was like Thursday morning. It was like I got home at 1:30 because of course we took the subway, and the Toronto Transit Commission, the TTC, does not know how to operate public transportation apparently, because when a concert is getting let out, they decided to shut down all of their downtown subway lines for maintenance. So figure that one out. So and we ended up sitting on a bus to get back to where we were parked. It was a whole thing. Either way, ended up getting home at 1:30 in the morning, and I have to be up at like 6 for work, 6 or 6:30, right? So I got up around 6:30, slept in a little bit, and I was sick. So I was supposed to go into work. I was actually supposed to get up at 5 to drive into work. I got up at 6:30, and I just told work, I was like, I'm sick. And it was one of those things where I've been to a lot of shows in my day, and I know how I expect to feel the day after a concert, and this was like worse. It was like it feels really off, right? So I ended up working from home Thursday and Friday, and Friday I told my family, I was like, I'm pretty sure I have COVID. Like I'm pretty sure I have COVID. I have all the symptoms you would expect, and I'm fairly certain I have COVID. I'm going to test myself tonight. So I tested myself on Friday, negative. And then you're in this weird spot, or I'm in this weird spot at this point, where I'm like, and by Friday night, I was sick. Like, I was sick. I had full blown everything you would expect from a cold, except a cough. The cough didn't come until later, but everything else you would expect from a cold and a fever. And I'm like, this is no bueno. I'm sick, but testing negative for COVID. So maybe it's not COVID, right? And then Saturday comes and it gets worse. And then on Saturday is when I started getting like crazy cold sweats randomly, which sucked. Really sucked. Again, I test myself on Saturday and it was negative. And so I was kind of like, oh, maybe it's something else. But like, it's now been on Saturday, I'm into the third day of this, and like, it's every COVID symptom, and I'm still testing negative, and it's the thing is, the symptoms are really similar to a flu. It just lasts longer, right? So like, I'm on day 3 or whatever, going on to day 4 at this point, Saturday night, and I'm like going to bed thinking, man, like, I have no idea what is wrong with me because I'm testing negative for COVID, but I basically have a flu now, but it's been like going on the 4th day. So I wake up Sunday and I was making breakfast. I was like, you know what? I'm testing myself again. Sure enough, Sunday morning, I test positive. So from there, Sunday ended up being actually the worst day. Basically on Sunday, I slept. That's basically what COVID was for me. I was tired. And when I say I slept on Sunday, I mean I was probably awake, like actually awake for 4.5 hours all day. I got up and I cooked. I made myself breakfast, and that's when I tested myself. And I ate breakfast, and I went on the couch, and the Masters was on, the golf tournament, which is a fucking fantastic thing to be on when you're trying to just sleep all day. And yeah, I just slept all day. Literally, I would like wake up for a little bit, let the dog out, maybe like eat or drink a Gatorade or something, and then right back to bed. And yeah, so at this point I had tested positive. I knew I had COVID, so I'm like, all right. And yeah, I just slept all day Sunday. Monday, I woke up and I ended up just working from home. I was feeling better on Monday. I wasn't as tired. I'm still actually more tired than I normally am, even still, which is odd. And as of Monday morning, I lost my sense of smell, which is a weird thing. And it's funny because I can still taste things like just fine. But what happened was I was like standing in my kitchen Monday, like mid-morning, and I just kind of noticed, like, I haven't smelt anything. It's such a weird thought to cross your mind, but it just did. I was like, so weird. Like, I don't smell anything. And I was making breakfast at the time. I think I was making cinnamon raisin toast. It was in the toaster anyways. And I'm like, it's weird, right? I can't smell my breakfast. So I went and grabbed a candle and like shoved my face in it and tried to smell really hard. And yeah, nothing. So that started to come back, although it's not quite there yet. We're now, I guess, 13 days from my first symptom or something like that. So it's strange, but yeah, like I still can't really smell. It's been 9 days without scent now. It's to the point now that I can kind of smell a little bit. Like if I shove my face in the candle, I can kind of smell it now, but not really. So, and honestly, if you're gonna lose a scent, like the only thing that I could come up with, because I was trying to think, like, is this bad, right? Like I can understand why, like losing your sense of touch, right? Like losing feeling, would be really bad because you can totally fuck yourself up and not even know about it. Like there's that disease that people are born with. I don't know if it's a disease, but like an illness people are born with where they can't feel anything and they end up like losing their fingers and toes and stuff and getting all these scars because they can't feel any pain. So they like don't even know they broke a leg. Like that's bad, right? But like your sense of smell, I'm like the only thing I could think of is like if there's a gas leak, I'm gonna die and I won't smell the gas, right? But otherwise, like not that bad, to be perfectly honest with you, thus far, anyways. I'll let you know if that changes. But yeah, recovery from COVID was as you would expect. It just kind of slowly got better. It was bad for a day. That Sunday was bad. And then the cough started on Wednesday of last week. And the reason I didn't do my show was I was kind of intermittently like losing my voice completely. And I mean completely. I had no voice at all. And there were like times where I'd be like talking to someone on the phone and then my voice wouldn't like fade. It wasn't like when you lose your voice. It was just like there's nothing there. Like I can't talk. So I basically limited myself. I only talked for like maybe 20 minutes each day because it was so bad. Like it was just really bad. I think like the real downsides to having COVID now, like obviously I have 3 vaccine doses. Like I'm quite healthy. I've only yesterday was the first day that I worked out since the Thursday, the first day that I had symptoms. I did work out that day and I shouldn't have. But yesterday was the first day that I actually worked out again. Because everyone says like don't work out when you have COVID symptoms, and they are right. Because when I worked out on that Thursday, it was rough. Your body's just like, bro, what are you doing? You need to chill. So that's been kind of difficult for me because I think that's part of why I have such a loss of energy is because I've just been sitting around, right? You can't go anywhere, can't do anything, you can't see anyone, and you can't work out. You can't, like, you literally, like, you can't do anything. You have to just like chill. But also, like, if you want to like play video games or something like that, like you're just too tired to do it. Especially like I was working from home, right? So I would get up, work for 8 hours, and then I would be exhausted. I might have some schoolwork that I had to do. By the time I'm done all of that, I had to go to bed. And my studying has really suffered, of course. I have my exam coming up at the end of May for my final accounting exam. Hopefully the last one. Who knows if I got to redo it, but this certainly did not help. Getting COVID during my study period did not help. Because, man, like, I'm so far behind on that. It's just my brain was just so dead. Like, I didn't want to be awake. I didn't want to think. I just wanted to sleep. Especially after working all day, like, it was just time to go to bed. So that started going actually, you know what? I took a nap every single day after work last week. Even Monday this week I did. But Tuesday this week, first time I did not take a nap after work. And I felt good, finally. Like, I finally started feeling really good Saturday this week is when I started feeling better, like not sick at all. Just a lingering cough, which seemed to go away by Sunday. The cough was gone. So the only thing that I still have is the lack of smell. And the tiredness is still there, but I think as I start, working out again and doing my usual routines, I'll get over that. And yeah, that was COVID for me. Very as expected, maybe a little bit less than what I expected it to be. Um, but like I had people in my family that were like worried, like messaging me that were like, "Oh my god." I was never actually worried. I mean, I've talked about it on the show before where like I'm the kind of person who like, I did everything I can. I got all my vaccines. Like if I end up dying from this fucking thing, like I don't know, like all right, I did everything I can do. Like there's not much else I can much effort that I can put into this. So, it was an interesting time. I didn't get any time off work, which was like the one thing a lot of people were like, the benefit is you get all this time off work. Like I did not. I worked through the whole thing, which probably didn't help my recovery. I may have been feeling better a little earlier had I returned from work earlier. But there's so many complications now with like returning to work and what the rules are, because it depends on, here in Ontario anyways, it depends actually on the local health unit. They all have slightly different rules. So for me, I have to wear a mask all the time at work. I am not allowed to remove my mask for any purpose when I'm working from the office now for the first 10 days after returning to work, for like 10 days from the day you return. So like that's kind of annoying. And then it raises all these questions. Like, again, this is the health unit. It's not the company I work for. This is the local health unit that says this. And so it just raises questions of like, wait a minute, am I wearing a mask to protect you, or am I wearing a mask to protect me? Because if it's to protect me, I've already had COVID, so I shouldn't have to wear a mask. And if it's to protect you, then that means that there's a chance that for 10 days from returning, I can still spread COVID. Why the fuck are you telling me to return to work at all? It's this weird, like, I don't understand what's going on in the world right now with this. It's been so long and they still have no idea. So they're like, well, this is the safest way that we can do it. But everyone around you, according to the health unit, doesn't have to wear a mask. Now, at my company, they do. But the health unit regulations are like, no, they don't have to wear a mask. But you do because you had COVID. You waited the amount of time you had to wait by our regulations, but you still have to wear a mask because we don't really know, and you might still be able to spread COVID. So it's this like weird, I don't know. It's such a weird situation. So we'll see how that goes. But that goes until, I guess, next Wednesday will be, or next Thursday will be 10 days. And then I can take my mask off, except I can't because of the company. Like at work, we're not allowed to remove our masks. But yeah, right now, like I can't eat at work. I can't drink at work. Like I have to go outside. So it's just like a weird time, a really weird time. For me and for everyone out there, I get it. I feel your pain. I wonder how COVID was for most of you. I'm not going to lie. I was thinking like when I tested positive for it, I was like, you know what? This isn't going to be that bad. I'm going to chill. I'm going to play some video games, listen to some music, vibe out, And then I realized I live alone. I live the life I want to live. I can do that shit whenever I want. So now I'm just tired when I want to do it. So in that regard, it definitely sucked more than I thought it would. But the actual symptoms themselves were way less than I thought. I was more tired, but that's basically it. Anyways, enough about that. Share with me how COVID was for you, though, if you've had it. Yeah, I mean, if anyone's going through it right now, you'll get through it. Just takes some time. You kind of wait. I had one person reach out to me. This was so funny because she found out I had COVID. She sends me a message. She's like, I hope you're feeling fine or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'm just tired, like just sleeping a lot. And she goes, oh, well, you're normally tired. So for us, COVID was fine. We had no symptoms. The whole family, like none of us, my husband didn't get sick, like my kids didn't get sick. It was all good. So if you just sleep, you'll be fine. And I was like, basically, you just called me a bitch. So thank you for that. Anyways, I laughed so hard when I read it because I was like, I'm literally like in bed coughing, like tired as hell, dying. It was one of the bad days. It was actually, I think it was the Sunday when I got the message. And I literally like wake up to this text and it's like basically, yeah, we all had COVID and we were fine. So like just sleep a little bit, get up and do some housework. Like it's a perfect time to clean the house. Don't be a bitch. And I'm like, fuck. Anyways. Oh, I knocked the mic out of place. Yeah, that was a funny time. But moving on, some stuff has happened in the world that I think we should discuss. Two things in particular. First of all, Pakistan has a new prime minister, and we'll get into why that's important in a second. But first, you've probably heard about this. Ukraine, we believe, sunk the primary Russian warship in the Black Sea with two surface-to-surface missiles that blew up and knocked this ship to the bottom of the sea. The Moskva is the name of the boat, and it is their guided missile cruiser. So it is the boat that it. So the way that radar technologies work is it's a combination of surface level and air level radar systems that kind of work together to create this 3D grid so they can track the movement of projectiles, whether they're planes or missiles or whatever, through the air. So this boat, it holds the primary surface level radar system for the operation in Ukraine on behalf of Russia. And somehow Ukraine was able to hit it with two missiles and sink the thing. And man, it feels like Russia is constantly looking worse and worse. I mean, I know at this point they've taken over most of eastern Ukraine. It's not really a surprise. They're now bordered with the Donbass region. Mariupol seems to have fallen into Russian hands, basically because they just flattened it. You know what I mean? Like, it's so weird. Now what? Russia's going to take this over and they're the ones who are going to pay to rebuild it. And like, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what Russia's plans are here, but man, they look so bad. So the Moskva, this Russian, the lead warship for this operation, we don't know how many sailors have died. Russia says the ship simply caught fire. They don't admit that it was taken out by the Ukrainians. However, U.S. and allied NATO intelligence does say that they believe this was a missile strike. Russia is simply saying it was a fire on board. As I said, Russia has not declared the number of casualties, and that's not unusual in active war, but Russia is telling the people of their country that like this was not attacked by Ukraine. They do admit that the ship sank and it's a total loss. However, they are not coming forward with a reason for the fire or the sinking or anything like that. So I think this is just another really bad sign for Russia's military, and I'm not really sure if it's as impactful as Western media outlets are kind of saying it is. I mean, it's impactful in the sense that, like, this is an important boat to their fleet, right? However, it's not going to end the conflict. It's going to make some things a little bit more difficult, especially their radar tracking. However, Ukraine isn't using many aircraft. They have some, but that's basically what this boat is meant to do, is to help track aircraft flights throughout the region on behalf of Russia. And, you know, yeah, like, it kind of sucks, but Ukraine has done one missile strike on Russian territory. on a gas depot. That's it. And who knows, if Ukraine was to pick that up and do more airstrikes into Russia, then yes, having this boat sink is like a big deal because it makes it much more difficult to track those incoming missiles from Ukrainian airspace. You know, they can see them for a few kilometers from Russian airspace with their land-based permanent tracking systems. However, having a boat in the Black Sea allows them to cover a lot of Ukrainian airspace and predict where those strikes would be coming. So I don't think it's as big a deal as a lot are making it out to be, but it is a big deal that, like, you have to realize what's happening here. This is like a couple random Ukrainian dudes who were given a guided shoulder launch Trojan rocket system. That's what the system's called, not the Condams, but the guided rockets, and they just creeped up along the ocean or the sea, I suppose, and launched these two shots, and both shots hit. It's just like, it's unbelievable, you know, that this was allowed to happen. That these are, by the way, these are not. These are rocket propelled missiles. These are not subsurface torpedoes is the word I'm looking for. A torpedo, of course, travels most of its way underwater before hitting a boat. They are a little bit harder to track than rockets shot at, like, above the surface. Primarily because you can see them. So, you know, it's really, really strange that these were able to hit the main warship of the Russian Navy. But they did, and so that boat is at the bottom. We'll see if Ukraine decides to do more similar attacks. We know they have done a few smaller attacks, but I don't think they've really sunk any of the boats. The important thing for this boat, too, the reason I think Ukraine really wanted to hit it, this is the boat that first attacked Snake Island. If you recall, this boat reached out to Snake Island or Serpent Island, which is a Ukrainian military base on a small island in the Black Sea. And they said, you know, Ukrainian military, please surrender your arms or whatever. And the guy in the tower replied, Russian warship, go fuck yourself. You may recall that story. This is that boat. And now that boat is at the bottom of the sea. And the guy who gave that command to the Ukrainians had to abandon ship. And it is now, as I said, at the bottom of the Black Sea. But moving on to another story that's very different from what we've been discussing lately, but interesting nonetheless from a Western perspective, where we sit here, me in Canada, you likely in Canada or the United States. So those shout out to the listeners from some other countries. It's nice to see you. Pakistan, rather, has a new prime minister. So Imran Khan, who was extremely anti-West, anti-American, was removed through a no-confidence vote. And basically, a new coalition formed, and the new individual's name is Shehbaz Sharif. And so Sharif is now the new prime minister of Pakistan. What makes this interesting is now Imran Khan has said that this was an American, basically an American incited conspiracy to dethrone him and put someone in power who is supportive of the United States. Now, the really interesting thing about this is that Sharif, although seems like he's going to have a much better relationship with the West, he's not super pro-America. So this could end up being a big issue. The country now, politically at least, is split again. Surprise, surprise, Pakistan with a big political concern. And yeah, you now have the new prime minister who is defending the United States, saying that they had nothing to do with this. And but the interesting thing is, like, we don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it is totally possible. You could very easily convince me that the US was in some way involved in this, because Imran Khan has been very anti-American for years. The thing is, I don't know how dedicated the US is to Pakistani politics anymore, especially after the way that they left Afghanistan and they pulled out completely, and they essentially gave control to a terror organization, right? So, I'm not sure that the U.S. is as dedicated to having someone in power in these places who is extremely sympathetic to the United States. I think they've kind of learned that it's probably not really in their best interest. But it's interesting nonetheless. I love American Middle Eastern conspiracy theories because totally possible, it's totally possible. And yeah, I'm not on Imran Khan's side here. I don't think that the U.S. was part of this. But basically what happened was, in a very short amount of time, Imran Khan, the former prime minister of Pakistan, had a ton of support. And he lost it because his party and his coalition allies almost simultaneously decided he's not the guy anymore. And it's not really clear to me why. Obviously, there's not too much English coverage. And unfortunately, I have to rely on websites like Al Jazeera, which I don't really like doing. But they do translate a lot of Middle Eastern stories into English, and they're pretty good about it. However, you just have to remember that they are their political perspectives when you're reading their stories. But that said, Washington and Sharif, the new leader, have said that this is not true. Of course, they've said that it's not true, but it could be something to watch. And who knows, this could be a problem in the Middle East if there is some sort of conflict that arises from this. It's not really clear to me how the people of Pakistan are reacting to this yet. So I'm kind of waiting maybe to see if there is protest or any sort of backlash within Pakistan. But I think for now, it does look like there's someone who is going to be more favorable to the West in the region, which certainly helps. It helps with stability, at least for us. And, who knows? Places like Pakistan have a lot of control over oil distribution. If they're not mining it, they're allowing shipping lanes and whatnot, and pipelines and stuff like that through their countries. Although I don't really know that Pakistan has a major pipeline, but certainly shipping routes for oil for the rest of the country. Sorry, my mic keeps spinning for some reason. I'm not really sure why. But the shipping routes that Pakistan has through their country are important for oil distribution, and no one likes to see conflict anywhere. And with what's going on in Europe right now, we really just need someone in every country around the world who's just going to be like, everyone chill, let's just watch Russia and Ukraine and make fun of Putin and get him out of power, then we can go back to fighting. That's what I would like to see happen in the Middle East and around the world. But yeah, that's obviously not going to happen. But hopefully this brings a little bit more stability to the area. And yeah, hopefully it's only good vibes from here on out. That's the show we have for you today. I know I talked a lot about myself, But to be honest with you, that's what I've been going through. That's what I've been thinking about. That's what I've been talking to other people about. So figure, well, I might as well share with you my COVID story. So I hope you were able to enjoy this podcast. Thanks for sticking through to the end. If you haven't done so yet, you can hit the subscribe button. You can share the podcast with your friends and family. Leave a nice 5-star rating on any app you happen to use. Leave some nice comments. That would be great. Any questions or concerns, of course, you can reach me on the contact page over at www.laughtolearnpodcast.com. Otherwise, I hope that everyone is doing well. I hope you're staying safe. I hope if you haven't had COVID that you don't get it. And I hope if you have it right now that it's going well. And I hope if you've had it already that it went well. And otherwise, I will see each of you all next week. But until then, please keep on laughing and keep on learning.